Welcome to Hearties. It's just a few days from our season 11 premiere, and the excitement is growing. I'm Lori from Mobile, Alabama, and I have a few friends with me here today.
I'm Marg from San Diego.
Hey, Hearties, Jeanette from Michigan.
And with all the intrigue and romance yet to come in season 11, there is no one better to get us settled into our seats and ready to watch all the goodness of season 11 than our own Hope Valley teacher, the incomparable Erin Krakow. Yay!
Oh, stop. Thank you so much. Now, class, take your seats.
Oh no, I feel like I have to sit up
so I can do
now.
that.
Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to dive into this chat with all of you. Very excited.
Well, we're so happy to have you today. We missed you so much during the strike in season 10 that we didn't get to interact with you at all last year. So was it torture, or was it like a welcome break not to be able to weigh in during the season? Is it restful?
I'm not quite sure how to answer this. I will say, I mean, yes, it was tough because I really do like connecting with all of you, with all of the Hearties. It's a very meaningful connection for me. And I think I can speak for our whole cast when I say that. We just think the world of the Hearties, and that interaction it's just really important to us. So I was missing it. At the same time, I don't know if you picked up on this, but season 10 was like kind of a roller coaster, and a lot of big things happened, and a lot of people had big opinions about those things. So maybe it was nice not to have to engage directly with those feelings when they were hot out of the oven. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Yeah.
Well,
hot out of the oven is a good descriptor, I think.
Yeah, that is.
I'm all about those sound bites. Let's see what else we come up with.
Well, we are so glad to have this chance to chat with you and convey Hearties' questions about seasons 10 and 11 now. So let's go ahead and get started with Leanne Howard from Nashville. She loves the new hairstyle, but she wonders how the decision got made. Did the writers write it in, or did the change come from you?
Well, a little of both. I mean, our writers are such kind people. I don't think that they would just come up with something like that without consulting with any of the actors on our show. But in this case, I may have planted the seed. We were looking for a way that we could illustrate this new chapter in Elizabeth's life visually. And there was talk of maybe doing a little row house redecoration, which also would have been super fun. But I was just thinking, like, it's time for a change, isn't it? And I think a lot of women after a breakup want to shake things up in the hair department. So we went for it. It had been a long time with the long hair, and we're really getting into the 20s now, and so it kind of made sense to lean into the new shorter length.
Well, the bobs were popular in the 20s. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be, and I'm dating myself, but you're in the Friends, world when Jennifer Aniston just got so sick of being asked about her hair. Like, this is going to be your season when we're going to talk about your hair, like probably too much.
I don't hate it. It's okay. As long as we're not talking about that like terrible wig from season 5. As long as we're not talking about that.
Yeah. And so you've had extensions before?
Oh, I've just had it all.
You've had it all. Okay.
Yeah. All right. My hair is naturally like super curly, and so it just is a lot of heat. But they do try to be gentle. It's just Vancouver weather is tough to operate.
Right.
Anyway,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I am really excited about the change. I think it makes sense for Elizabeth as a character.
Totally.
Sense in this time period. And I hope that our viewers like it. A little something different.
Yeah, totally.
We'll say that wig is like Voldemort. It shall never be named again.
I know. Well, moving right along.
Yes.
So we have a question from a fellow teacher, Nikki Harper of West Virginia. She and Mariah Qualls of Arkansas love the classroom scenes. So just even the little peaks that we've seen so far with the release of photos that looks like we're going to get this amazing classroom scene. So they went over 11 seasons with the children. Did you have a favorite lesson that you got to teach?
No. I can barely remember what some of the lessons were about. I remember
Okay,
something.
solar system this year. We had the gravity.
Yeah, there, but what I will say is I really love working with the kids so much. And often my favorite lesson stories with them are the ones that really dive into who they are as little growing people and their fears and emotions, and helping to guide them through whatever experience they're struggling with. Often it goes hand in hand with what the more academic lesson is. But my favorite moments are the ones where Elizabeth is really connecting with the student as a small human and not just as a student.
Oh, I love that. We talked to
Yes.
Viv and Natasha this week, and they were talking about Cooper's, Elias's first day on set and how nervous he was. And I think it was Peter who told him he was going to have much more dialogue than he had planned.
Okay.
And they talked about how you just like held on to him and like got him, helped him get through that first scene. And it was really a beautiful tribute to how you help these young actors in those moments. So it was really nice. And I know that the directors do too. I know Peter's particularly good at it, and but they do need some shepherding, so that's really cool.
They do. And it continues to be such an honor to get to work with these kids and watch them grow up on our show and see them really grow into some pretty strong actors. I mean, they come in with something special, all of them, of course. But you mentioned Elias. He blows me away now. I'm like, oh, this is this kid who was kind of shaken like a leaf when I had my arm around him on his first day. He can command a space now, and he can claim a storyline. And yeah, I would feel very confident casting him in anything. Like their kids are just
Wow.
special. Oh gosh, Jada has a story later this season. She's gonna blow people away. It's so emotional and mature, and I mean you're kind of like watching her move from her childhood into a person who, her character anyway, a person who wants to be grown up enough to handle certain things. And it's very moving, very moving.
Wow.
I'm super proud of these kids.
Oh, amazing. Beautiful. Danny Melissa Collins of Jefferson City, Tennessee, loves having a show that she gets to watch with her 12-year-old daughter. And they really loved the scenes with Henry last season. And I think those were particular favorites of ours. We, especially the one on the stoop of the row house at night. That was very special. Tell us what you found kind of remarkable about that scene.
Oh, well, that scene, it was late. We were both tired. But also working with Martin, he's he's so grounded and so natural, and you can't help but settle into that with him when you're working opposite him. And so that I find that to be a really nice reminder of the best way to work when you're just relaxed and open to what your scene partner is bringing. It just allows for a more organic scene to make itself known, I guess. So that's just how I felt about acting with him. But also that scene, it contained so many
It
things.
did.
It took so many turns. Like the way Gowen gently confronts Elizabeth in the stables, on the heels of her panic attack over Nathan's well-being. It really drives a little wedge between them. And so this is the first time we're getting to see them interact after that, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
It is,
Yes,
right?
I think that's, yes.
Yeah, and so getting to see how Elizabeth certainly has forgiven Gowen for that, and has a real appreciation for the fact that he could see her and not just see her and have an opinion about it, but really be that guy and kind of call her out on it. And she needed that. And then it's Elizabeth realizing that yet again, Gowen is getting in his own way. If he could just forgive himself in the way that so many of the people in Hope Valley have already, he could be experiencing such a wonderful life. But he can't quite fully forgive himself. And so it's encouraging him and letting him know that like he's already done all the work. Everybody has moved on, and now it's on him to do the same. Long-winded answer, but there's a lot that I liked about that scene, and I'm glad that others appreciated it as well.
No, I think it had a lot of turns, and I think it also, we also were hearing Elizabeth is fine after the breakup. And in that scene, we could see, the toll that it took on her. But also at the same time, this beautiful friendship. So it did contain a lot of levels for you to work with, it felt like.
It did, and not to make a long answer even longer, but another thing that I like about their connection is Abigail always saw the best in Gowen, and it seems like Elizabeth has kind of taken that on for her. It maintained a strong connection with him, and it's in subtle but quiet ways that they connect over Abigail, and we keep her alive in Hope Valley, which is, it's meaningful to me, and I know it is to Martin as well. So yeah, I think there's a special connection between those two, and it's always nice when we get to have those vulnerable scenes together.
Will Henry continue to be kind of observant of some signs that Elizabeth may have feelings for Nathan this season?
I don't know that it's going to take a rocket scientist to
Yes, from what we're seeing in the previews, it's certainly not going to take a rocket scientist.
Listen, when I say it's a slow burn, I mean it. It just so happens that all these little moments are being put in the promos and the teasers, so you're seeing them all at once. But just like give us a chance, we stretch it out. Okay. Anyway,
well, I think for us too, we love, because Martin doesn't do a lot of interviews, and it's always nice. We hear from everyone else little bits about how he works and his performances, and and so we love hearing any tidbit that you all share, because it's such a cool, and that's a 10-year friendship. And so it was really neat to see Elizabeth and Henry almost take another step in their friendship and open up even more. So I hope we see some of that continue next season. But it's really neat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make empty promises. But I will say that we learn more about Gowen's psyche. There are a lot of great scenes between Martin and Viv next season.
Oh,
and their real life friendship has such history and depth and texture to it that I think they're going to bring a lot of that to their performances, and it's really nice to see.
wonderful.
So we're going to pivot to that storyline that you referred to that got the hot out of the oven responses. To what?
Great shirt. Can I see what?
Thank you. Well, it was the 4 women, but it still has Clara on it. So I need to get an updated one with Minnie on it. So yeah.
Got it.
To represent the Hope Valley women today. So by now we've talked to a lot, it's been a while since season 10 ended. So we've talked to a lot of people about the decision that was made for the big storyline shift in the romance. And we've learned that it's never just one person that makes the decision, that there's a lot of opinions being weighed and a lot of factors involved. So for you, putting on your producer hat, how did you approach it? Like, what are some of the factors that you looked at, and what did that kind of mean to you?
Tough question. but a good one. Well, first I want to say that it is really important to me what you just touched on, that it's not just one person making decisions like this. It's not even one group of people. And so when people point fingers saying, oh, there's a new showrunner and she must have ruined, our dashed our dreams of a wedding between Elizabeth and Lucas, that's not the case. Lindsay is not to blame. The writers are not to blame. It's such a hive mind with research and conversations and questions, and these are conversations that can stretch on for months or weeks, depending. Like there's so many opinions that go into a decision like this, and it's a decision that isn't made lightly because we care so much about our viewers, and we don't want to make the experience of watching When Calls the Heart too tough or emotional or frustrating. In fact, I think that's part of why our writers elected to kind of postpone some of the cracks in Elizabeth and Lucas's relationship, because they didn't want our viewers to have to sit in that discomfort for an entire season. And some people might say, oh, well, it might have been helpful if you'd started showing us those cracks sooner. And maybe, but anyway, I digress.
I think that's helpful, actually, though. And it's so funny. Lindsay must have a bit of whiplash because it's either she's credited with returning the show to its roots or she's blamed for, destroying. So I think it's, it's helpful to hear the hive mind and also, the observation of the timing and the pacing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. These things take time. I will say, people have asked me, was this the plan all along? Was Lucas just a bait and switch? And no, like, short answer is no. This was not the plan all along. We have gone through many plans. In fact, if you'll recall, there was a plan in the very beginning for Elizabeth and Jack to be together forever, but you have to pivot. And as we learned more about what worked for the show and what relationships fans were interested in, and what would maybe offer the show most longevity, or what interest in a blended family and different chemistries. There's so many things that go into a decision like this. And I believe in the story that we're telling. And I'm excited. I was excited to tell the love story between Elizabeth and Lucas, but I am really excited to tell the love story between Elizabeth and Nathan. It is a gentle, love comes softly, I guess, kind of romance, and it's a grown-up love story. So I stand behind it, but I do hate that it upset any of our fans. And I feel for them, because I know that that's hard when you're rooting for two people to be together. And very, very long answer, but I want to send out my empathy, and I guess apology to those people, but also say that I'm really excited about the stories that we're telling now, and I believe in it, and I think it's going to be great TV. So I hope people can get on board with the story that we're telling now.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, because it was because of the strike, all of you couldn't really speak too much to it. And so I think there was just the one interview that Hearties got to see. So it is lovely to hear you be able to expound on that a little bit more. And I think there are a large portion of the Hearties, especially now we're a week away from season 11. Like there are a lot of us that are like, let's move forward. We're ready. Like, let's get, a lot of us are talking like, let's get the show on the road. Like, we want to see what's to come. So
a lot of it. My goodness, there's so many
yeah.
shows and sneak peeks. You've basically seen all of it.
We do sort of wonder if there's anything left to see sometimes. And I don't even know that they've shown all the sneak peeks yet this week. There's probably more. Yeah.
I can assure you there's a lot to see. Yeah.
Good. So Laura Manning Long is a Hardy from Jacksonville. She's also fascinated with your producer role. And she wanted to know what creative aspects of the show do you feel have been elevated? In the last couple of seasons, what elements were you excited to see develop? Kind of fun.
Yeah,
Like
that
what did you see in season 10 that you were surprised at how it came about or anything
Or
that
season
surprised you?
11 for that
Yeah, or
matter.
season 11 too.
you guys sneaky trying to get the info out of me.
Pulling.
What are my creative contributions as producer that I'm most excited about?
Well, not necessarily yours, but just overall, do you feel like the show has been elevated and what are you excited to see? Yeah.
Every season, I feel like Hope Valley grows, as does When Calls the Heart as a show. We have such an incredible ensemble cast. We bring in some great guest stars. Oh, by the way, season 11, we're getting some very exciting guest stars, some returning characters.
What?
Great.
Spoiler. I loved the introduction of the hot springs. That was so cool.
Wow, that was amazing.
I appreciate any opportunity we have to explore the geography of Hope Valley in a new way. Even if it's just like, we normally don't shoot this set from this angle. It's like kind of being creative about what things look like. It keeps things fresh. But yeah, the hot springs was really fun. What did you guys find exciting creatively?
I think a lot of us had a reaction last season with the governor's ball, the dinner. It just
Oh,
had a very the level of you guys all dressed. It had well, it
Mhm.
very much felt like a 1920s vibe. It all of a sudden felt like, oh, we're really in the 20s now. Everything about the production of that was just like
The
loved it.
broadcast, the speech, it felt
Video.
it felt very PBS like period. It really, yeah.
Mhm.
Great. Well, I mean, I loved shooting those scenes. That was a really fun episode. And I loved the way it came together. The edit of that, I thought, felt like seeing the shoe drop. Is that the right turn of phrase? Seeing the shoe drop?
Yes.
Uh, as it applied to like the water issue and Montague and all that getting found out. It clipped along in a way that felt very like sexy in 20s and yeah, I
Mhm.
thought too. That became your answer, not mine, which I'm good with. But
Is there
We should
anything
say
that
that Erin had a press day today, and what are we like 20th? I mean, I'm so excited that When Calls the Heart is getting all this press. It's amazing, but that's a very long day for you. Wow.
I appreciate you saying that. So you're trying to excuse my
You're
loud,
doing very well. You're
You're
doing
doing
very,
great.
very well.
keep me honest. Okay.
Well, talking about the press, in the ET interview, Kevin kind of referenced this a little bit, but Mary Wood of South Carolina and Christy Adams.
I'll talk about his shirtless scene again.
Actually,
You want to
no,
go
but if you want
there?
to talk about that, we can. No, Mary Wood of South Carolina and Christy Adams of Tennessee would like you to elaborate a bit more on how Lucas and Elizabeth will manage the change in their relationship and living in the same town.
Okay. Well, what Lucas and Elizabeth had was a very real love story. And that care for each other doesn't just go away. I mean, they didn't, when Elizabeth finds out that Lucas is in danger, she rushes to be by his side because she cares about him and still feels so connected to him. Their dynamic obviously is going to change. It develops into a really nice friendship that revolves around supporting one another and mutual respect. Elizabeth is very much a champion for Lucas as governor, and she believes in him. And there's actually there's a scene, I think it's in season 11 and not 10. Oh boy. They do start to blend together a little bit, don't they? Where Lucas has this big idea. Yeah, okay, it must be 11. And he's kind of coming to the community to get their feedback on that. And it would have an impact on Elizabeth in particular. And I think what she says is like, if you believe in it, then you've got my support. Like, she believes in him as a leader and as a person, just as a human being. So their friendship is very much alive and well. Though I will say Chris and I don't share a ton of scenes together in season 11 because our stories are just a little, they're on different tracks. But when we do have scenes together, it's very nice. I love it.
I appreciated that Kevin in the ET interview said that it will be handled in a very real way, that it's not going to be like all of a sudden everything's just hunky dory and everybody we're great, like we're great like that it will be that it will be handled in a very real way, and there will still be some things to work through between the three of them, kind of thing.
That's real.
I mean, I think that as Elizabeth and Nathan are discovering their feelings, figuring out how they feel, there's an acknowledgement that with Lucas there in town, maybe complicates things just a little bit. But ultimately, I'm really glad that Chris is still an active member of the Hope Valley community as Lucas. Like I want him to be around. So anyway, yeah.
Oh, good. Well, we're going to back up a little bit from that breakup for this next question. There was that scene with Nathan and Allie and little Jack and Scout where they're playing together at the playground. And yeah, and I can tell by the smile, you know where we're going. Christian McGlory of Houston wonders what were the emotions that seemed to be bubbling up and clearly distracting Elizabeth during that scene.
Well, if you pay attention to the scene that follows, if I'm correct, when Elizabeth and Rosemary are walking toward the cafe, Rosemary is pushing the stroller. Does Elizabeth say something about like, is it weird that Allie and little Jack are spending so much time together? I don't know if she meant Allie.
Interesting.
You know, I think that was a safe way of dipping a toe into a conversation about like she's struggling with what she's feeling because she's in a relationship and she wants to be respectful of that. But I think questions are coming up for Elizabeth, both about Lucas and about any like whispers of residual feelings for Nathan. And, you know, she wants to be a good partner to her current partner, but she is clearly feeling confused. And seeing Nathan and Allie and little Jack and Scout running around a playground together, looking like, you know, a perfect little family, I think that was not helping with her confusion.
It's clearly distracting her from everything else.
Yeah. And then Rosemary sees her light on and comes to intervene and render aid as she's really struggling with this confusion. What an incredible scene for you and Pascal. It was so moving. Talk to us about that scene and the two of you working together on it.
I mean, it was, thank you. I love working with Pascal, both on the comedic scenes and the more emotional ones. I mean, that's one of the blessings of getting to work with some of my best friends is, you know you can leap and they're going to be there to catch you. And although sometimes I'm not there to catch her, like again, I digress, but there have been so many times where she's committed to getting her lines out and she's cracked me up for one reason or another. And I'm shaking with laughter. And she's like, can you just hold still? Can you just, because, you know, they're shooting over my shoulder and onto her, and you can see the bouncing shoulders. It doesn't make the cut. You've never seen it. But anyway, where was I? I love working with Pascal. She's gonna love this. And that scene in particular, I think, was really cathartic. It had been, you know, a season of self-discovery and reflection for Elizabeth, and holding in a lot of those emotions, trying to tell that story in a subtle and respectful way through looks. And so actually verbalizing some of those feelings was emotional and charged, and that scene does contain one of my favorite lines maybe ever written on When Calls, that the line about liking that she can see my light on. It's just so powerful and really speaks to their dynamic as, you know, girlfriends, sisters, whatever you want to call it.
She sees you, she sees the real Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she allows for those messy feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is really important to me. I feel protective of Elizabeth, and I want to make space for all of those real messy feelings. And, you know, I would hope that if you were sitting down with a girlfriend and she were sharing some of her messy feelings, that you would be there for her and not judge her, and want her to find her way to her most authentic life and love story. And while I'm certainly not the only character on When Calls, and while Elizabeth's romance isn't the only one that we should root for, I hope that our viewers can kind of look at it from that perspective and allow for messy feelings, because they're human and they're what make our show relatable.
Did the two of you prepare much for that scene, or did you want it to be kind of a more raw kind of situation with the emotions? Or did you kind of talk through it quite a bit ahead of time? Long time ago, I know.
Yeah.
I remember it yesterday. So typically we come to set, we block out the scene with our director and crew observing, and then they light it. We go away, we get into costume, whatever it is, they light it, set up the cameras. We come back in, and then we'll have a rehearsal for camera and then dive into shooting it. Typically, that's kind of how we go. Or sometimes you need a couple blockings if you're just trying to figure something out, if there are a lot of people in the scene. In this case, it was, okay, so you're gonna sit here with the photo album, and you're gonna come into the door and then sit here. And so it wasn't a very long blocking. And it, you know, I don't even remember if we rehearsed it. As I recall, we showed up, had a brief blocking, came back, sat down and shot it.
Wow.
Whoa, I mean,
Yeah. No, y'all nailed it. You nailed
totally
it just
nailed
like
it.
that.
Well, she didn't tell us how many takes it took, but still.
actually wasn't many, and I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. I'm not saying any of this to toot my own horn. I'm sharing it because sometimes magic just happens. And when you have a scene like that was so well written and so perfectly captured all of these feelings, you don't have to do too much. You can just be there with your scene partner. In this case, I was very lucky that it was Pascal. And sometimes you get lucky and magic just happens.
Speaking of magic, Bonnie Gibney from Western Massachusetts wonders, in that final scene of season 10, when Elizabeth and Nathan magically show up at the log, what do you think drew them there?
The magical log, obviously. Well, I mean, it was a meaningful place for them. doesn't hold the happiest memories for either one.
Mhm.
But it was meaningful, and I think it's a place that when Elizabeth was on her journey first visiting Jack at his grave, and her mind turned to Nathan, she thought of a place where he'd expressed his love for her. And you know, Nathan was, I think he was on rounds, but I like to think that that's a place that he just rides his horse by from time to time because he thinks of her when he's there. And so they happened to be, I mean, there was no like, okay, I'll meet you at the magic log. There was no,
The magic log.
it was, you know, kind of timed out that way. And they were both a little perplexed about why, but maybe that's part of what makes their connection special is there's just an invisible string.
Well, we're just coming off the week where you and Kevin and Chris all did the Entertainment Tonight interviews. And I do think that we were all taken aback because y'all spilled the tea. There was quite a few of the Hearties questions. And it was kind of nice because there were a lot of big questions that Hearties had been speculating about that there was definitely some answers to.
Is he shirtless? Is there a kid? Is he shirtless?
I don't think shirtless was really a question.
That was a bit of a
on Hearties'
surprise.
list.
Yes.
That was a bit of a surprise. More like, what were some of the big
Not on
ones?
anybody's bingo card, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. But I guess our question is, it was very clear that, you know, we're going to see Elizabeth and Nathan pursue a relationship, and you even hinted at it, at a kiss. So what was it important to you all to kind of be clear with the fans, or did those just come out in the spur of the moment, or did you feel like there are some questions that we should answer and kind of make it clear to the fans that this is the direction we're headed, kind of thing?
Well, I don't know if it's because we shot season 11 many months ago, and so it feels like, okay, well, we've done that. If it just felt like safe to talk about all of it, that may have contributed. We didn't, you know, the three of us didn't get together and say, okay, what are we going to share? What kind of tea are we going to spill? In fact, as you saw, I crashed Kevin's interview, so I'm not sure why that came about. There are certain things that were important to me that everyone know. Like, for example, Lucas doesn't die. I think that's big. Yeah, I don't know. We didn't prepare too much. We just spoke freely, I guess.
Yeah. Chris especially, I think, answered a lot of questions about, because people had been speculating about Jeanette coming back, and he very clearly said that. And the fact that he was going to be in Hope Valley, everyone was wondering where he would be. So, but I think it was good, yeah, that we got it. And people, of course, loved the, you know, juicy bits.
Juicy bits.
I know. The second it came out of my mouth, it's like not the right term.
I love it.
Okay, so
sound bites.
Soundbite, yeah. So now we have a really great behind the scenes question that I thought was fun from Hardy Jen Heaving of Maple Grove, Minnesota. She asked, we all know that you share a lot of great behind the scenes photos around set. She asked when you can steal a moment to yourself. Do you have a favorite place on the Jamestown property that you enjoy? Specifically like in nature, if there's any kind of quiet place you go to get some alone time from the craziness.
Well, you can't go too far when you're mid-scene. It's important to make sure that someone knows where you are, and that's not just get eaten by a bear. No.
Oh, no.
You think it's going to be 20 minutes until you're needed, and then it turns out, oh no, we're going to adjust and reshoot that bit of coverage, whatever it is. So I can't really get too far away from whatever set we're currently using, but I spend a lot of time at the schoolhouse, and so when we clear out of there to turn around, I often find myself just kind of hanging out by the pond. It's so pretty, and we get to see Jamestown in so many different beautiful seasons when we start in July and wrap in November, like you get that true summer, and you see the seasons changing into fall, and then sometimes you get a really beautiful frost at the end of the season. So that's been a really special place for me to just find some peace, and a special place for Elizabeth too.
Yeah. And it never looks the same. Like in all of our visits for Hearties family, I must have a million pictures of the church and the pond, and
Yes,
it never looks the same. Like the way the sun hits it, or the way the clouds reflect, or
totally.
yeah, it's really special.
Really special.
Continuing kind of the fun, Brittany Pepper of Punta Gorda, Florida, wonders about the adorable Willoughby. We've seen so many pictures of that cute little guy. Wondering if he's going to follow in Mama's footsteps. Will we be seeing any cameo appearances of Willoughby? No.
Oh, you're so sad. I put him all over. What more do you people want?
We need more.
Yeah, we want him to be a star.
He is a star. But I don't think he's made for
Training, is that the word you're looking for?
well, I mean, we're working on that. But he's a great model. Like, I love taking photos of him. But it's
Is
just
he a busy boy?
unfair pressure to put on a little puppy dog, and
Yeah.
I don't put that pressure on him. I want him to just enjoy his life and his freedom.
He's a cutie pie. He really is.
What do you love doing with Willoughby?
It's the morning cuddle for me.
Oh,
He's so cuddly, and like he does that thing where he takes his little snoot and just kind of like does that, so my hand keeps going over his head, and
Come on.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, love him to bits.
Mm-hmm. He's so cute. So we're gonna change directions. We're gonna turn our attention to Blind Date Book Club.
Oh, great.
Yes. So, which of course kicks off the whole premiere weekend, Hearties weekend this weekend. It's airing Saturday, April 6th on Hallmark Channel. Marianne Klein said she is so excited to watch seeing all the previews. So tell us about your movie. In 2 seconds or less. Well, tell us, just give us a little.
Okay.
Your elevator pitch.
Yeah, it's a cozy coastal love story that takes place in and around a bookshop owned by my character, Meg. Does she meet the sweet and charming Graham, played by Rob Buckley of One Tree Hill, Jungle, and Chesapeake Shores fame? She sure does.
Beautiful.
Nailed it.
It's feel good, and for anybody who loves to cozy up with a book, for anybody who loves Nantucket, for anybody who loves Rob Buckley, yeah.
Cool.
Is it supposed to be set on Nantucket?
Yeah, it is.
Oh my
fun.
goodness gracious. Wow. Okay,
It's
that's
not.
exciting. I do enjoy the Nantucket.
It's really nice. And just to like bring it back to the When Calls the Heart world, we were so lucky that Johanna Newmarch joined us in this really exciting, vivacious character, a host on NPR, and she kills it. So that'll be really fun for our Hearties.
Oh, I did not get that she was an NPR host. Oh, that's fantastic.
You forgot the tagline. It's about the books. It's all about the books. It's not about the
Oh, heaven forbid anyone think it's about romance. Just to, yeah.
Well, talking about the books, Irma Oud Broy of the Netherlands loves all your connections to books, whether it says Elizabeth the author in Hope Valley or Meg the bookstore owner in your movie. She wonders if you aspire to do any writing, be it script writer or write a book.
I have begun that process several times, but I don't finish. So, we'll see.
Well, with all of your free time, you could just do whatever.
It is tricky to find the time for creative endeavors outside of
Sure.
specifically When Calls the Heart, because when we're mid-season, I'm focused on the episodes we're shooting, the scripts for the episodes we've yet to shoot, and then the cuts as they're coming out for the episodes that we've already shot. So that it stretches, it takes up a fair amount of time. And then if we're lucky enough to find out that we get another season, the work begins during hiatus on stories and game plans for the next season. So trust me, not complaining, very, very grateful. But I should probably find like, I don't know, maybe I'll take a week and go to a cabin and try to write something. Or
I do remember, I think when we talked to Viv, he said that your hours are 24/7, 365. I'm pretty
That
sure
is what
that's a
he's-
direct
Yeah.
quote when it comes to win calls. So.
I have a hard time with work-life balance. And
Well, with 20 interviews in one day, I mean,
it's fine. Look, we're fine. We're getting through it.
yeah.
Nope.
But it leaves no time for writing those books or things. So
Yeah, it's tricky, but I should prioritize it. It's important.
And you've
Well,
definitely
I'd
had
love to see what you would write.
yes.
Would you write a screenplay or?
I have dabbled and I've dabbled in children's books
Oh,
from time to time. It just never ends well. I get all excited about like, I'll go into a stationery shop and it's, oh, look how pretty this journal is and feel how smooth this pen glides on the page. Now, this is going to be the time that I stick to it for sure. I'm all set up. And I get home and that night it's like, dear diary, what a day I had. Da, da, da. I mean, content, not copy, but I never keep it up. So it's a challenge for me.
Was that kind of your type as an actress? Were you always kind of considered literary and bookish? Because it feels like that comes up a lot. In addition to being, a nurse and I mean, there's a lot of, caregiver types of teacher. Yeah, but
the book thing, no, I mean, I knew of or know of. I recently got the question. I think it was something like, did you realize that your career is basically romantic heroines and women in the military? And like, was that a choice? And I just thought it was so interesting. Like, yeah, I guess there have been a lot of connections to law enforcement or military.
yes.
Romantic. And actually a lot of loss played, just grieving.
Yeah. We
but
were
strong
talking.
women. All of them strong
Yes,
women.
all of them strong. Yeah.
Yes, and I used to refer to them that way. Sometimes I still do, I guess, but the reality is that we're all strong women, right? Like it's not just specific characters, it's all four of us here together today are strong women.
Love it.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just speaking to your comment about loss, we were talking amongst ourselves in one of our heart to Hearties about how lucky Elizabeth has been to be loved so well by, now a third incredible man. But amid that, there's been a lot of loss. So you have been loved very well, but that makes the loss greater.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, it's been a painful journey at times. If I may just like butcher a quote from a little show called The Bachelor, the first runner-up, she just said something so profound in the season finale. Can I say this? Is this really dumb?
Go for it.
No, go for it.
Any of you watch it?
Yes.
I watched The Golden Bachelor. I did not see this most recent one. Yeah.
You do you, whatever works for you. But Daisy, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was something like, if I can love the wrong guy this much, imagine how much I can love the right one. And I thought,
Oh,
Wow.
that is so good. And so I don't know what made me think of that. Maybe it was just talking about Elizabeth's various love stories, but I kind of feel that way for Lucas, actually. If he could love the wrong woman, being Elizabeth in this case, imagine how much he's going to love the right one. And the same goes for Elizabeth with Lucas, and right? So these are great big love stories we get to crack open on When Calls the Heart.
Oh, I love that. That's
We
amazing.
love it. We love it.
Yeah. Caroline Leap of Ontario asked, which character in your estimation has the most dramatic story arc in season 11? Who do you think shows the most change or development?
She has an answer already. Look at her.
Ooh, Lucas, easy, Lucas. Yeah.
Wow. Holy cow. Really?
And it's no consolation prize or anything. It's not like, oh, sorry, Lucas, you didn't get the girl, but you're gonna get a good story. Like, he just carries it. I mean, he's got a ton of growth, a lot of emotions and frustrations and professional drive mixed with personal complications, and it's just it's a very powerful story for Lucas, and Chris delivers.
Love it.
The end of season 10 set all of that up for him. So many different directions for that to go.
Agreed.
Well, with that intrigue to chew on, we want to thank you for making this special time for us. And as Jeanette was saying, we do hear from so many of your castmates how much attention you lavish on this show, not just in your own incredible performance, but in the details and in the weeds, and I'm sure in interpersonal relationships, and just making sure everybody's well cared for. And so we just want to thank you for continuing to usher this show into yet another beautiful season that we get to enjoy. So thank you, Erin.
That's so nice. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure and an honor, and really lovely to hear. And I'm glad that we could have this time together. It was so nice connecting with all of you and hearing these incredibly thoughtful and kind questions from Hearties around the world. I think we went a little international there, didn't we?
We did. And there were many. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There were so many questions. So thank you, Hearties, for coming through with really thoughtful, amazing questions that at the end of a press day can spark our incredible answers from you. So thank you. We're so grateful for you, Hearties, for all the ways that we know that you're going to show up for Blind Date Book Club on Saturday, for When Calls the Heart's premiere on Sunday, on Twitter using the hashtag Hearties so that we continue to fuel those Nielsen ratings. We have a lot more fun and enlightening conversations coming on Heart to Hearties. So make sure to subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss a thing. We can't wait to see you. Woo woo! Season 11's on its way. Bye-bye, Hearties.
Bye. Like, comment, subscribe.